Hey devs, how are you? I am Hiroshi from WebStylePress.com. Welcome to another tutorial. If this is your first time here, I share software engineering tutorials at this channel. If it interests you, join this channel by hitting subscribe button and bell icon. In this tutorial, we are creating a language translator or language switcher in ReactJS. It will switch language. We will need separate language files for it. With language translation, it also converts dates, time, and numbers into relevant formats automatically according to the selected region or language. We will use a package called ReactIntel. ReactIntel uses Context API to provide the language switcher wrapper for your whole app. You can also define default text if there is no language available or certain language file is missing. I used Google Translator to create text in several languages. We are converting our text into Spanish, French, and Russian languages. Our default language is English. ReactIntel internationalize React apps. This library provides React components and an API to format dates, numbers, and strings, including pluralization and handling translations. Here is the getting started page. You can install the ReactIntel package by using this command. I am using create React app for ReactJS app. Use this command to install ReactIntel. And it provides Intel provider and inject Intel, define messages, formatted date, formatted time, formatted relative time, formatted number, formatted plural, formatted message. So this is the provider that will wrap our app and will provide functionality to change the language. This is our app.js file, our default file for the ReactJS app. I also have got some styles in my app.css. I've got the container and some style to align the text in the center. Then I've got the flex row and flex column. and the button styling. In my src source folder, you can see a lot of folders, but we won't be using all of these. As you can see, it has got API, assets and components, containers, context, hog, hooks, images, stores, translation, utils. These are all not needed here, but we will just use translations folder and components folder. We will create some components in the components folder, and our translation files will be in translation folder. So in my src folder there is translation folder and components folder that we will be using. For now I am not creating any kind of context or containers, not using hawk or any other. These are extra folders that I have got in my app that I use sometimes. So let's create the translations for different languages. So our default language will be English language. Let's create file for the English language. Right click, new file, en.json. So in the JSON file we can use object, and inside the object we can use key value pairs to keep our data for our languages. So we will need en.json and es.json. Then we will need fr.json, fr.json. For French language and Russian language, ru.json. So these are my language files. Default language is English. I have got this text already prepared, and it has got title, quote, text. This is the text, and person tutorial by Hiroshi, and change language. This will be the title, and this is just the text. This is also the text, and this is the title. So I want to display all these messages or texts inside my app, and I want to translate these. So this is my file for the English language. For ES, I have got this one, Spanish, and then for FR, French, I have got this file, and for Russian I have got this text. So as you can see, the name Hiroshi is same in all the files because that will not be translated, and the key is also the same for all these files. Title, text, person, change. Title, text, person, change. We will be using keys in our app. Keys contain data or values. Those values will be translated. Title, text, person, change. Just this text is translated. So these files will be switching, and our language will be changed in our app. So these are our language files inside translation folder. inside this app file I won't be needing this. Instead I will need this thing, quote, this title, and then this text, and perhaps also these. So I will create a component here with the name of quote, and let's create that component. Quote. I have created a folder inside components named as quote, and then quote.js. React functional component, import React from React, and then this is our quote, and let's use container here as a wrapper, and then we will be needing some import here. Import formatted message, formatted date, and formatted number. We'll be using these from React Intel. We will be using this formatted message, and formatted message takes an ID and default message. Let's import our quote component here. Components, quote, quote. So we have got this message here. But of course it is the default message. It is displaying the default message here that we have used here. And for React Intel, we have got this ID, and it has got this title. This title should be fetched from this language file by the React Intel and should be displayed here. And if that title is not present, then this default message should be displayed. So I want to display this message there. So for that we need that React Intel wrapper, and that we will create now. Language provider. Of course this is not available right now, we are going to create it. This is our provider. This is our own component that will contain the React Intel provider, and it is wrapping the app component. It will provide the language translations. So before this language provider, I want to create the default messages. Default message. These default messages will be coming from somewhere, right? So you can use it here, but I would like to use it in separate file. Okay, so in our component, code component, I would like to create another file named as messages.js that will contain our default messages. So it will import define messages from React Intel, and then we will create a component export default define messages, and then it will contain an object, and inside the object we have a title, text, person change, title and text, and person change, and here will be the default title. Check language files. This will be our default message for the title in case the language file has not got the title, translated title. So define title, check language files. I will use similar messages here. Default quote text, check language files, and default person name, check language files, and then change language. Now I want to use these default messages here instead of this one. So for that, I will import the messages, import default message from messages. So you will have multiple components, and so each component will have its own messages.js file, default messages file. Okay, So for translation for this code component is default messages, default translations, or default text is in the messages file that is in the same component that uses these messages, these default messages. So now we can use it. So this is the title, right? So in the define message we will use this thing, curly braces, it's an expression. So we will call this default message, and from this default message we want to get this thing from this code.title. Okay, so this is our title. This basically this component is formatted message that takes an ID and default message. So default message, we have specified that go to this default message file and from the code get the title, display this thing. If there is no message, there is no relevant message in the translation files. So from the ID, title will be displayed here from the translation file. With the title also, let's display the text message, text of the quote, and so again formatted message, and the ID will be text, this one or this one, text, and default message will be default message quote and this text. So this is complete. Inside our app we have used a component that needs translation, okay, code. So inside the code we have used formatted message from the React Intel to display the text, and the format is formatted message that takes a title, that takes an ID and default message. So for default message, instead of writing it hard, instead of hard coding here, we have used a file and we have used this define messages from the React Intel and created an object, and we have used the default message inside it. We have then imported it and we have used this object here in place of for this default message, and this ID we will fetch this ID from this one, ID title, this one. So this part is complete. Now we will design this language provider that will contain the actual logic. You can use the logic here, but then it will be messy. App.js component will be messy. We don't want that. We want it clean, so we will create it separately. Okay, language provider. So inside our components we will create a folder, language provider, and then inside the language provider we will create a file, language provider.js. So we will be needing import React from React, And also we will use hook here, use state. We will store some information inside state. We will store the information of current language and locale that we will set, and we will store these in the state, and then we will pass this information from this component to the app component, and then to throw out all our app, because app is our main component that will contain all the other components inside it, and we are providing this information, this provider, to the app component. So app component will use logic from this component, this provider component, and here we will use state hook, and here we will need to import few more things from React Intel here as well. So import. Now here we will call the Intel provider. It's Intel provider from React Intel. Okay, and also with Intel provider I will need formatted message here too. Formatted message, and export default function language provider, and this is also a wrapper component. Okay, and this is a wrapper component, so it will receive it will have props, and it will return this Intel provider component, and then we will have our div with the class name text dash center, and inside it we will for now just use props.children. So Intel provider, and here will be the props.children. So props.children is basically the area where app will be there, app component will be there. Okay, so we have created the language provider here. Let's import it here. Components, language provider, and language provider. Module not found, can't resolve React Intel and quote React Intel. Again spell mistake. So my folder name was also not right. Rename components. So the problem is here. React-Intel is not a file, it is a package. So we won't be needing dot and slash here. So default title, check language file, default quote text, check language file. So these are our default messages because we are not receiving messages or text from this language file. Let's fix that. So we will have to pass the language file from this provider component. So first of all, let's import this language file. Import languages, and here will be our English language. Import English from translation / en.json. Okay, so now we will use this use state. We will use const locale set locale is equal to use state, and we will be needing another one, lang set lang. So here will be the locale and this is lang. So for default lang, let's put this JSON file here as a default, and this is not a string. Okay, this is not a string, this is this file, JSON file, object file, and here this is a string. This will be the en for English. And now we will pass these in this component, locale, this one. So Intel provider will take locale. We are passing en to this locale, and messages, and for messages we will use this lang, that is English. So we are using Intel provider which takes locale and messages props, and then for locale we are passing the English en, and for lang and for messages we are passing this. In the messages we are passing this JSON object or file in place of messages. And as you can see, it has changed. Now it is coming from here. This one title and this one text that we had used here. These two formatted messages. This one ID title, this one ID text. So title and text, these are coming from here. All we did is we used Intel provider as a provider component and give it en as locale, and as for messages we passed our English language file to these messages. And so this Intel provider will provide this information to app as it is wrapping the app component. And app has got the quote is this component that has got this information. So now you can see if I remove this one from language file, let's see if I remove this one, what happens. So it is default title here, right? Because it didn't find the title here. So it took that information from our default messages which we provided here. Clear, right? Okay, now we have to import all the other language files, and then we will have to provide here some buttons and some mechanism to switch the languages. Let's center this whole thing. Formatted message, and it will take an ID, change this one, change language, and default message, default message. We haven't imported default message here. Dot quote dot change, and this is coming from here. We have to import this component here as well. Default message from it is in the quote slash messages, default message, this one. This one, change language here. Okay, so this one is done, and then let's use buttons. Button, and this is for English. It will have an on-click event, change lang, and we will use en here. We will pass the en parameter here, change lang. Now we don't have this change lang function here, so we will create it const change lang, and for now let's leave it there, and let's create more buttons. So button, English, Spanish, French, and Russian. So this will be the ES, and French, for French will be FR, and for Russian we will pass RU parameter, and Yeah, here are our buttons, and let's use a break here. Okay, so change language: English, Spanish, French, Russian. So now on click of these buttons, this information will be passed. So we will have to get it here. Let's get it in the function with the name of getLang. So let's use a switch statement here. So set locale. So getLang is this one, ENESFRRU. It will go here. So let's use set locale. We will get it here, and we will immediately set locale as getLang. All right. So on click of this button, en will be stored here. On click of this Spanish button, es will be stored here. Set locale. All right, so let's use switch statement, and switch statement will also make use of this parameter that we have passed, and then it will have cases, case en, and for this what we will do, we will set the language file, set lang, this one, so English and English, and then break. So we will need 4 of these here, 2, 3, and 4. And then we will have our default case. Default will be set lang English. Okay, so here will be the other languages that we haven't imported yet. So let's import other languages. So it will be Spanish, and then it will be French, and then it will be Russian, and EN, ES, FR, and RU. So let's use these here. English, so this will be the ES, and ES, after that FR, and after that RU. So English we have catered. Here will be the Spanish. Let's give this French, and for Russian, let's give it Russian. So, wow, it is already working. So just these language files are being switched that we have already created. So what we did, this Intel provider needs a locale in form of en, esfr and the language files. So for language file, our default file was English, and I am saying it again, this is not a string. This is object, this one that contains a JSON file. Okay, this is our state, and at the click of these buttons we are passing different parameters for different languages, and then we are getting that here, and then we are passing it here. Change language files. Okay, so here we set the locale, this set locale, what we are getting it in the getlang, we stored it here, and this is a string, and what we are getting and then we have the switch statement that checks what we are passing, and then according to that we are setting the language file in the set lang, and then we are passing it here. Clear? Also we have got this one, right? What if we have to pass this information to a component as prop? What will we do? We can create a function for that takes this ID and then this default message and processes it and gives us the required information. Let's see, let's create that function. So we will create a function, we will create another component with the name of, let's say, converter, and here will be the converter file, converter.js, React functional component, and let's import formatted message here from, again, nope, it's a package, react-intel. Okay, and this is a default function converter that takes an ID and MSG, two parameters, default messages and ID. It will take these two, and it will only, what it will do, it will just return something, nothing else. It will return formatted message, this one, yes, and formatted message takes an ID and default message, and the default message will be the message and ID will be the ID. So that's our converter function. So let's call it here and let's try it. So let's use this here. First we will call that function import converter from converter and converter. This is the converter, and now this is a function. and function can be used with this syntax converter, and converter will take two things, two parameters, 1 and 2. So one is these two parameters. Let's print this again. Okay, so it will take this thing and then this thing, and here it's not a string, this is a string, this is the id is string, we are passing the id value, and then we are passing it the default message, and it has been displayed here, right? So you can use formatted message like this or like this. Benefit of using it like this is that, let's say if you have to pass this whole thing as prop, as value of a prop name is equal to like this one. Let's say you are passing this thing to a component, then you can use it like this as well. Okay, so I am commenting it because we have tested it and it works. So change language, we can use it inside the paragraph so that it gives us some break here. Let's use paragraph here as well. We need some break here as well below buttons. Okay, so English, Spanish, French, Russian. So our languages are being changed. Let's beautify this component, chord component as well. Okay, so you have understood it, right? This is simple, pretty much simple. We have created this provider component from the React Intel. We have used use state hook. Okay, and we have used this provider component that takes a locale and messages, and for messages it takes the whole language file object. Okay, so we had got our languages files, we have imported the language files here, and then we have used state and we have used buttons inside this provider component. Okay, inside this provider wrapper component we have used buttons, and on click of these buttons we are changing the state, and from state we are passing the information here, and then this is kind of a context API. It is being, the information from this provider component is being transferred to this app component here. Okay, so this is the app component and that is the language provider, this one that we created, and it is wrapping this app component, and now this information will be passed and will be available for all of our app. Doesn't matter how many components we used inside the app or inside this language provider wrapper or parent component, that information which it stores will be available for all of our app. And inside the app we have used this quote, our a component quote that has got our basically information for this text, and we are going to format it, and we are going to beautify this component a little bit. Okay, now this is the container, and let's use some rows and columns here. This is one thing, this is second. And container, inside the container we need a raw div class name, it will be flex raw. It will have 2 columns. Let's give 2 columns, and our column class for the column was CUL. Okay, so it will have 2 columns. Okay, this will contain the other information, and this first one will contain this one. But before that, this was the h1 tag. Let's keep the title in h1 tag, and then this one let's use paragraph for this, the quote text. This is the quote. Okay, so let's move this in one column. So here it is. So this is the quote text, and this is the actual quote text. Okay, I am giving it a style, inline style, for quick formatting. Let's use 20 pixels, and here 10 pixels, and then we needed to take the maximum width, available width. Okay, and then okay, I guess it's fine, but let's make this bigger, this text. This is much better. Okay, so quote, now let's see, English, Spanish, French, Russian. Now it is better, right? Makes more sense with the styles, right? Okay, so now we have got some more text. We have got a person. Yeah, we have got a person remaining. So let's call it here as well. And the, where is our code? This is the code. Okay, so h1 paragraph, and let's copy this and here, and we won't be using style here, and ID will be, its ID was person. Let's see, ID is the person. Yes, these are the IDs, guys. Title, text, person, change. Consider these IDs. Okay, and default message got text. Our default message was this. Default messages title person, so it will be person here. Here will be the person. Okay, tutorial by Hiroshi. Okay, so you remember we have got this one. We were using this formatted message yet. We have got formatted date and formatted number. Let's use these. and we have got another column. We will use these here. Okay, so let's try that. So let's style this column first. Style, quick and dirty styling here, and I need its width. That will be the 300, and then I will have a padding here 20 pixels, and then background color will be this one. Let's see. Okay, where is the background color? Okay, so maybe I have to use some content here, then the background color will appear. Yeah, okay. So here is the background color. All right. Okay. So here is the area that we have to use more stuff. So formatted date. Let's use formatted date here. This one. Okay, so formatted date takes few things. Value, first of all, it will have a value that will have new. We will use new date, current date here. Okay, let's see what it gives us. Okay, it gives us this one, 322, and this one. Okay, if we change the language, you can see its format changes a bit. Let me increase the font and see this now. See these dots now, dots, French, this one Spanish, and this one. Okay, it has got more settings or parameters. Let's try these also. And it has got a year numeric. Okay, and month long, and the day is equal to numeric, and then weekday is equal to long. Let's see how it affects it now. Okay, so see Sunday, March 22. This makes more sense now. Okay, Spanish, and as you can see, it is automatically formatting the date for us. French, Russian, we do not need translations for date to format the date. It is converting the date for us automatically. You just have to point it that you just have to change the language, and it detects the language, and accordingly it changes the date. So it is the formatted date. Okay, and formatted date is here, formatted date, and let's see what are the options here. And here's the formatted date. Yes, example with options. You can see here it takes the value, the year, month, and day, and weekday, and similarly there are other options and other stuff here. Formatted time, hour numeric, minute numeric, and formatted time parts, and you can read it more about it at its official docs. Okay, components. Okay, this was the formatted date. Let's format the number. This is the format number. So how can we format the number with it? We can just formatted number value, this one. We have to just give it the number inside the value, and it will format it for us. And then again, format number has also got the value and the style, unit kilobyte, unit display narrow, and unit Fahrenheit, unit display long. There are many ways you can format the number. Okay, so let's format the number. Let's use break below this, and this is now the formatted number. And formatted number, its value will be, let's use this kind of value, and so style unit. Okay, and then after style, let's use unit kilobyte, and then let's use unit display. Unit display is equal to narrow. Okay, what it gives us, let's see. Okay, this one. And if I use it like just 2 zeros, all right, let's use more zeros here. Okay, so this one, and language effect is this one. See, it is converting the unit for us, translating the unit name, and the formatting also, number formatting according to the language. Got it, huh? So the date formatting, date and time formatting automatically, and then the number formatting. Okay, and let's use this one more time. Formatted number. So style will be the we want to, style will be the unit, and unit will be, let's use Fahrenheit, and unit display narrow, and okay, let's see what it gives us now. Okay, what about long? Oh wow, so this is the long unit and this is the narrow unit, and in different languages, amazing. This sign Fahrenheit, and long, amazing. And for different languages, amazing. It is converting automatically. It has got the information. The package is really good. This package is amazing. Really good package. Good stuff, good stuff. BR, and let's use some breaks here as well to make this box a little bit better. So date, the unit, the other unit, and translated text with this stuff. Amazing stuff, right? Okay, now one thing is remaining. Have you seen that this text, all of this text is inside this translated file, this translation file, Hiroshi, and it's a name. What if I want to make it dynamic? What if I want a control to change this name from this file, I want to have an ability to change that name dynamically. But here I don't have anything. I have just got the person here, and the text that is coming from here based on this ID person, and it's got the information. This is the value. I want to make this thing dynamic. I want to have an ability so that I can pass this object some information, and I want to modify it from inside this file. So we have got a way for that, and for that what we will do is we will do like this. So we will use curly braces here. So let's get person name. Now this is a variable. Okay, this is a variable, get person name, and here let's use here the code, because we also want to style it. Okay, code. So whatever will be inside this code, we can style it. We can give extra styling inside that our component. And this thing inside the curly braces, this is the actual variable that we can use. So let's try this. So this is the variable that we can use, and this code is for just extra styling that will be implemented only on this piece of text. Okay, get person name. We will come here, and this is our person, and these IDs and default messages fine, because the other text will be coming from this person ID. Okay, and we will use an other thing here, values. Okay, and inside the values, this is our variable, get person name, and so give it a person name, but we have not defined it yet. Let's define it here. Our person name const is equal to Hiroshi. Here's the typo. So this is our dynamic name or value. So save. Okay, default person name, default person name. Why it is like that? Person name, we have given it the value get person name and person name. Get person name, and here will be the word. Nope, we have to make use of this word. So code, we used code there, so word, and here will be the styling strong, and inside this strong here will be the word. Okay, okay, so this code is this one, indication of this one. This is this code, and whatever is inside this code is this one, and here we can apply this styling, and we can even give it a style right here, and text transform uppercase, and text decoration underline. And yep, okay, so Spanish, and it goes back to just Hiroshi, because now we have to use this thing in all of our language files. So let's do that. English for ES, this one, okay, and the French, change the name to this code, and then RU, and this one, okay. So English, Spanish, French, and Russian. Okay, so now let's change it. Jean Doe, and here it is, Jean Doe, and this is not being translated. This is our text that is not being translated, and yeah, now it is dynamic. This part, this portion is dynamic, and it is coming from it is present in the its position is present in the language files, but we are controlling it from here. It is dynamic, and we are even using styles at it. So this is the actual word, okay, code, word, and word. This code, word is the actual word. Where is the language file? This is language file. So code, this actual word, this is the variable, and that will be used here. And this code, for this code, this one, this will be used as is. This is for styling purpose. We have used styling, and inside that we have thrown that word that is coming from here, from this code, and we can even use styles, and this word is dynamic, and yeah, And by this simple method you can translate your app very easily in any language. You just this package is amazing. React Intel, use it and let me know your experiences. And all you have to do is to create just a wrapper component or a provider component by using Intel provider from React Intel. And this Intel provider is this one that takes locale and language, and for language, for messages, it takes the whole translation file, English or Spanish or French. We have called JSON files for languages here, and then we are passing these languages to these messages. This messages prop contains the whole translation file that will be used inside the app, and this is the locale. And we are using buttons inside this provider component, and the buttons are changing the locale and lang here. We have used use state hook here, and then this information is ready to use in this child component, and our child component is app that is being wrapped by that language provider. Okay, and then we have imported a code component that is child component of the app, and that contains our stuff and our text that needs translation. Okay, so Intel React provides us the provider and then the formatted message. The message or text that we have to convert, we it needs formatted message. It needs ID and default message inside the provider. Okay, now let's experiment. If I delete the default message, what will happen? Nothing. It will show the code as is or the text as is. But if I remove this title, the ID, value of the ID, then there will be a problem. And if this ID is coming from the here, this ID, this is the ID. If I remove this code, the value, then it will have a default value. And if I will remove this whole title from the language, then it will also show the default message. Okay, and I am reverting it, and it is back. So where are the default messages? We have placed a messages file inside the same component code. Okay, so this is the messages file, and it has got the default messages for only this component. And we have used an object inside it, and we have used the same title, text, person, change, and these default messages. So this formatted message component takes ID and default message. Default messages we have called the default messages from the messages, and default messages code title, default messages code title. Okay, this single title, these are different text, title, text, person, change, and then this was one thing. Then we have got the other our this one text, and then we have got this one person, and for person we have got this special case. We needed one thing that we want to remain the same, and then we wanted to have the ability to change that thing from this component, and we made it dynamic, even it exists in the translation files, but we made it dynamic. We can change this from here. Okay, let me change it back to my name. Okay, and then it also provides some other cool utilities. Padding. That is the formatted date, formatted number, and you just give it the date or number for a value, and it converts those automatically according to the language. Pretty cool, right? Now there is no excuse. You can easily translate your content in React based websites. So go for it. Use this package and turn your app into a multiple language app that supports multiple languages and a global app. Amazing stuff. This is great stuff. Pretty cool, right? So that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video. If I missed anything or you have something to add, you can comment down below. Ask questions related to this topic. If you haven't already subscribed, subscribe to the channel and hit bell icon to receive updates. Join us on social media. Links are in the description below. Stay tuned for more updates. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Take care.